If the Democratic calculation is correct, you wait long enough, Republicans will eventually have to address the Obamacare subsidy issue with this year-end deadline approaching. How long do you think that is?
Well, we shouldn't need to wait that long. Speaker Mike Johnson said yesterday that there is no strategy moving forward. Well, there is a strategy. It's actually the oldest strategy on Capitol Hill. It's called negotiation. And I've been on the phone with a half dozen Republicans over the last day, and I can tell you that we can extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits for those 22 million Americans and many more. We can do so at a lower cost with income caps. But what we can't do is force the burden of higher costs on tens of millions of American families, including those 22 million Americans who are going to see their premiums double. We can't do that. And so I think many Republicans understand that. The question is whether they're going to have the courage to step up. We can do this through negotiation, but we need a speaker willing to negotiate. And we are here, more than 200 Democrats waiting for a speaker to show up to negotiate with. He's not here yet. And, I was mayor of a city of 1 million people. We passed 8 balanced budgets, and every single one of them, I negotiated with people who disagree with me. That's leadership. That's what we all have to do.
What do you think about the moves, Congressman, that the administration has made that we were discussing, finding a workaround for military pay, federal law enforcement, helping to fund the WIC program? Did the administration effectively extend this shutdown by doing this, or take the glare off Democrats in the meantime? I'm trying to figure out the political strategy.
It's a good question, and I don't think I'm paid well enough to be a very good political consultant to give you a good answer to that. But what I do know is that the focus now in the national debate is where it should be, which is health care. Because we know it's not just these 22 million Americans that are going to pay twice as much on their premiums, but all of us are going to pay much more for our premiums because another 4 million Americans will be pushed out of the insurance world into getting their care in emergency rooms and from ambulances, which is more expensive because we know that passes on the cost to all of us. So we're going to see all of our premiums rise if we don't get this solved. And we're out of time because we know November 1st is when all of us receive that information about what plans we can choose and at what price. So we've got to get it done quickly.
What is it that has you in Washington? I understand that your leader, Hakeem Jeffries, has called the Democratic conference back into town just to be present. Are you having conversations with anyone? Are you doing interviews, trying to spread the message? What's the purpose of being here when the House is not actually in session?
Well, yes, we have had caucus meetings, and certainly we're talking to media as I am now. But frankly, my conversations with Republicans have been over the phone because they're not here, they're at home. Look, we're on duty, they're on vacation. We need everybody to be on duty because we need to do much more for the American people. They deserve better than this. And since the big ugly bill passed, 104 days ago, Speaker Johnson has called us into session exactly 19 days. So that is not a record of hard work that's going to be required to get us to negotiate to move forward. He's got to call the House back into session, and he needs to get his team here so we can negotiate.
Well, I know you have a unique view as a former mayor, and as we say frequently on this program, mayors don't always have the luxury of lawmakers in Washington when it comes to playing partisan politics. What is going to happen when these notices start going out? Many of them, to your point, are out already. Open enrollment set to begin on the 1st of November. Does your phone start ringing off the hook? Are you able to provide constituent services in the middle of a shutdown? And what would it mean? How many people would see their premiums rise in your district?
Well, we'll see 24,000 families see their premiums nearly double as a result. And in my district, that means about $3,200 a year more that they'll be paying for their health insurance. But really, this is going to be a burden on the entire health system. We know it's going to force the closures of some clinics and hospitals, and it's going to increase the cost for all of us, even if we're on private plans that we don't purchase on the exchange. And so everyone's going to feel the pain here. Yes, we're going to get the calls, and yes, we will be there manning the phones and receiving the emails because our offices have been open. In fact, I even opened an additional office back at home in the last couple of weeks to ensure that we can handle what we know is a lot of pain for folks. We've been meeting with federal employees and their unions and so forth to try to figure out how we can reduce the burden that so many Americans are feeling.
I understand the Capitol Police have missed their first full paycheck now for the first time. They're not included in the military or the federal law enforcement coverage, unless you can tell me otherwise, Congressman. We've had a big conversation about security in the Capitol recently with the uptick in political violence. How concerned are you about the Capitol Police not being compensated? What does that mean for your security?
Well, forget my security. I think it's a shame, and we should all feel shame because these are women and men who struggle to pay their rent, to live in a very expensive Washington metro. They deserve to get paid, just like everyone else does who's working hard. By the way, members of my team, I'm also not taking a paycheck during this time. We all need to get the government open, and we need to be able to treat all of our employees and the American people more fairly.
I want to ask you about the rhetoric that we've been hearing from the White House, and I'm not sure what the president will say. He's going to have a news conference later on today, and I suspect will add to this conversation. But in promising mass layoffs, as Russ Vought has at least begun to announce the rifts with this shutdown, the president has also suggested that on Friday he will have a list, 2 days from now, a list of what he refers to as Democrat programs that will be cut. Let's play for our audience what he said yesterday, Congressman. We'll have you respond. Here's the president.
The Democrats are getting killed, and we're going to have a list of them on Friday, closing up some of the most egregious, socialist, semi-communist, probably not full communist, we're saving that for New York, but semi-communist programs, and we're closing them up. We're not closing up Republican programs because we think they work.
Congressman, I remain confused on this one because obviously citizens who are members of both parties and independents all tend to make use of these federal programs. Which programs are you aware that he's talking about?
I'm not sure I really know. Is he saying Social Security is semi-communist? I don't know, but nonetheless, I'm confident as you are that many Republican and Democratic Americans depend on all these programs, and we need to keep them up, open and running for America. But let's keep in mind, this threat is no different than the threat that we have heard since January 20th, right? We have seen 55,000 federal employees fired, 150,000 more pushed out the door. The most recent announcement was for another 4,000. We know it's all illegal. Obviously, that's in litigation. We've had many federal judges weigh in on this, and we've seen Republican-appointed judges telling this administration it's a violation of the APA and other laws. This continues to be illegal. We'll continue to fight it, but this is just more of the same.
Well, really interesting wrinkle here. Do you take him at his word? Will there be more firings? Will programs be closed down?
Oh, sure, he'll close them and then he'll reopen them when he realizes he made a mistake, just like he did a few days ago. Look, these folks are shooting from the hip and, more importantly, shooting before they aim. And we've seen that constantly, from the times of Doge through the rescissions and now these decisions. We know what the framers of the Constitution decided, which was the power of the purse lies with Congress. Obviously, everything that they're doing is illegal, and they're going to find that some of these things they're doing illegally are probably not very well considered even for them, as we have seen them routinely back up. So yes, we're going to see more of this, then they'll back off, then we'll have judges shut it down. We're going to continue to fight.